Hey everybody. So my name is Reverend Stephen Milton, and today I want to talk about why we love superheroes so much. Everywhere we look, there's superheroes. They've taken over the movie theaters. Marvel's put out, 26 MCU movies now, and of course on TV they're everywhere too and growing. First of all, I want to just say that I've seen most of them, and so I'm not here to slag these movies and say that they're dreadful. I actually quite enjoy them. But the thing about comic book movies is that they're based on stories that were originally written for teenagers. The comic book form was something which was originally bought by teenagers, mostly teenage boys, and those teenagers are at an interesting transition time in their lives, right? Where they're physically strong, suddenly physically strong, often the strongest they're ever going to be, the most fertile and the most physically strong, and yet at the same time they're socially weak. They have almost no influence over society, and that's frustrating. Enter comic book superheroes. They can do anything. They're both physically strong and they're allowed to break every rule. They're allowed to throw buildings, they're allowed to throw punches, they're allowed to take cars and throw them across the road, and they do all this without getting arrested. So they're socially powerful and physically powerful, and that combination is absolutely intoxicating. What a fantastic thing for a teenager to read about. Okay, so that's why comic book heroes were originally so attractive to teenagers, but what about now when adults are obviously going to these comic book movies? They make hundreds of millions of dollars every time they come out, so what is it that's so appealing to adults? Well, I think in some ways it's the same thing, in that adults now feel socially weak. Real wages haven't risen in decades for most people. A lot of people are stuck in jobs they don't like. They spend their days commuting, stuck on a train, stuck in a car, stuck standing on the subway. There's lots of ways in which we're hemmed in, told to stand in line, keep our mouths shut, behave, and that's frustrating. And so the prospect of seeing someone who can break every conceivable rule, including the laws of physics, by throwing things around, having laser eyes, having super strength, that's really attractive to people who feel that they are physically hemmed in and don't have a whole lot of choices. But there may be something about our obsession with superheroes which is actually keeping us in that weak and helpless position. The science fiction author Ted Chiang, who wrote the story that the Arrival movie was based on, he's argued that all superhero movies are actually ultimately exercises in elitism. And what he means by that is that Superman can't give his powers to anybody to empower them to fight crime, for instance. And Spider-Man can't give his Spidey powers to anybody else so that they can go clean up their neighborhood in New York. Every superhero gets a power which is just unique to them. So we're left lionizing people who ultimately can't actually provide anything which is sustainable and can be spread with the general population. So in a way, hero movies are actually anti-democratic. They reinforce the idea that we should just always look to elites to solve our problems because we don't have the power to solve them on our own, and we certainly don't have as good power as they do to solve our problems. And the other thing, of course, is that superhero movies rarely address the kinds of problems which actually affect our lives in real life. Superheroes don't fight poverty, and they don't fight sexism, and they don't fight racism. And in fact, the only superhero movie, Black Panther, that had a villain who wanted to use some of the superpowers of Wakanda to fight racism, he was the guy who died. So superhero movies are actually, they're great as escapism, but a little too much escapism can convince you that you are powerless, which is not true. We don't need to have superpowers to get things done as a democratic society. What we need to do is draw on the powers that we already have, which are love and compassion, the ability to listen to others and really hear what they're trying to say, and then speak your mind too, so that we can come together to make decisions, to end things which are holding us back, like sexism and racism and poverty. These problems won't be solved by the elites. The elites are pretty happy with how things are going. So don't get me wrong, I'm not going to stop going to superhero movies. I still like to see buildings bashed around and it's cathartic to see someone else, fly at amazing speeds while I'm stuck in a traffic jam. But I really think that the world that could be better is going to be made by people like you and I who sit down and listen to each other and try to exercise that normal superpower of compassion and understanding. I hope this helps. If you want to make a comment on this, just make a comment down below. And if you'd like to see more of these sorts of talks, just subscribe to us. We're on YouTube and Instagram and Facebook, and you can follow us there. Peeps be with you.